today. Let's welcome an internist with MDVIP, Dr. Frank Contessessa, and licensed pharmacist Shane Jereminsky. Shane, I want to start with you. You are coordinating this strike, and you work for one of the big chain pharmacies, I hear. This is not your typical strike. What's behind this walkout? What are pharmacy workers upset about?
So pharmacy workers are mostly upset about the technicians not having the rate of pay that they deserve for the amount of work that they're doing. That's the first thing. And then even these technicians that do have a solid wage, they're not guaranteed hours. CVS and Walgreens are pushing back that they can't set hours sometimes because of the fluctuations with seasonal vaccinations and flu shots and things like that. So that's the reason why that we're really concerned about technicians having a set schedule and having a higher rate of pay, because that's what makes pharmacies safer. When you go into a pharmacy, there's usually only one pharmacist on duty, but when it's well staffed, multiple technicians, and they don't really operate correctly and safely unless we have adequate staffing.
And Dr. Frank is the doctor who prescribes his patients medicine. How concerning is this walkout to you?
Well, good morning, Charlotte, and it's quite concerning. You know, there are a lot of conditions where it's important to have your medication in a timely manner. I can think of bacterial infections where you have to get your antibiotics, and a day or 2 or 3 delay of getting your antibiotics can mean that the bacterial infection can spread, potentially even into turning into something like sepsis. People who are on blood thinners, who have cardiac arrhythmias, who if they miss their blood thinners, they could run the risk of a stroke. So this is no joke. I will say, my heart is with these pharmacists. These people work hard. They've been overworked. This has been brewing for decades, where the big chains have been sort of squeezing these people, underpaying them, overworking them. So my heart goes with these people. My suggestion to people is if your pharmacy is on strike or if they're closing, and by the way, that's another problem. The major chains are closing enormous amounts of pharmacies. CVS is closing 900, and they're all closing hundreds of pharmacies. Try to find a local pharmacy, the mom and pop pharmacies. They will not be subject to these walkouts. Unfortunately, they're hard to find because the big chains have pushed them out.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. Now, Shane, you were quoted saying, quote, behind closed doors with the top brass of any chain pharmacy, their ultimate truth would sound something akin to patient safety is the primary focus if and when it doesn't affect our profitability. Can you expand on this statement?
For sure. And I stand by that statement entirely. Walgreens and CVS and all of the major pharmacies are all about patient safety. But just like Doctor said, this is about access to safe care, not just access to any care. And that's the reason why we're doing this. We want our patients to have access to safe care. And if you ask Walgreens or CVS, they are okay with a certain level of medication errors occurring in the store. Pharmacists are not. We have so much more at stake when a medication error occurs that's the reason why we're pushing to have adequate ancillary staff there to help us practice safely. CVS might get a $10,000 fine when a medication error occurs. A pharmacist might lose his license, not to mention how they feel in their ability to practice if they harm a patient.
Hey, Dr. Frank, I want to get this from you. In 2021, a survey of pharmacy workers found that 74% of them said they did not have enough time to safely perform non-clinical work, with 75% also saying there were not enough other staff to safely perform clinical work. So as a doctor, how much is slipping through the cracks that you know of, leading to potentially deadly mistakes?
Well, this is concerning. You know, when patients go into a pharmacy to pick up a prescription, it's not just, hey, I'd like to have my prescription, and you walk out the door. Often it is, but oftentimes people have questions. Now, I always take the time to explain to my patients what they're taking, how that medication works, side effects, and how to use it properly. But a lot of doctors don't have time to do that. And that work falls to the pharmacist. Because when you go to pick up your prescription, you may not even realize it, but you sign that you either want or decline advice from the pharmacist. And that takes time out of their day to prepare other prescriptions. So I imagine there's a lot of this falling through the cracks because these poor people, these pharmacists, just don't have time to do that work that a lot of overworked doctors don't have time to spend with their patients.
Shane, I want to ask you, how big is this? How many hundreds of thousands of pharmacists are we expecting to walk out today?
So we had a poll on my Facebook page that has about 122,000 followers, mostly pharmacists and technicians and other healthcare professionals. And about 4,500 said they were willing to walk out. They're 100% behind this, or they're going to walk out if there's hundreds to thousands of other pharmacists and technicians walking out. I would say this, that if there wasn't a fear of reprisal, even for losing a job that they think is that's very difficult in the stressful environment, if they weren't afraid of losing their job, tens of thousands of pharmacists and technicians would be walking off the job today. And that's just a fact, because almost every location has a difficult time right now. Some of these stores, the worst in the country, have 3,000 labels sitting on the counter. So when you have 3,000 labels sitting on the counter, that's one of those things that goes to the wayside. Counseling patients on new prescriptions. That's the way you catch medication errors. And that's not occurring a lot of times, because it's the first thing when you're backed up that far that you're going to disregard.
Shane, thank you so much. Dr. Frank, thank you so much. And as you said, your local mom and pop pharmacy should be the safe place to go and get a prescription if you need it in the next few days. Dr. Frank Contessessa, Shane Germansky, thank you guys for watching. We'll be right back.